Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to show you my very, very ambitious October TBR. I am not going to finish all these, but I did kind of collect a stack of books that I would like to get into throughout the month of October, just to give myself a wide variety of choice depending on, where my mood takes me. So, because sometimes I read a book and say it's a thriller and then I want to read another and another. But then sometimes I go for a completely different genre. So I sort of have a little collection here of what I think are mostly spooky and thriller type books. A couple aren't. But I'm just going to get into this stack and show you all the books I've collected for the month of October to choose from to read. Now, the first one I'm going to show you is not a thriller or spooky horror novel at all. But I wanted to show it to you because it is one that I could potentially get into in the month of October. And that is the Radium Girls by Kate Moore. And it says right here, The Dark Story of America's Shining Women. Now this book, I probably need a little reminder about what it's about. Is it basically about women who worked in factories after World War I. Let me see. I'm just gonna have to look at the inside cover. I'm sorry. Basically, everyone was jealous. Like, it was a really desirable thing for these women to have these jobs in factories. And they were told that what they were working with, the chemicals and things, were safe. But it turns out they weren't. They're actually, like, they would glow in the dark, I guess, when they would go home. And they were told, that they were safe working in these factories. And everyone thought that they were really privileged to be working there. And then some health stuff and problems starts coming up, and then it just kind of follows the story of that. Again, I don't know exactly what it's about word for word, but the whole premise of it sounded pretty interesting to me. And I think maybe that led to some possible changes in the way factory safety standards and, workers being informed of risks they're taking. I think that's how that whole story plays out. Now, the next book that I'm going to be reading in October, and I should be finishing, maybe this week, is Margaret Atwood's The Testaments. This is the sequel to the Handmaid's Tale, which I didn't know. I didn't know there was going to be another book. I didn't find out until literally the day before this came out, and then I ordered it immediately as soon as I knew that it was in existence and coming out. So I got it a day or two late after it was released, but I had to get it because I did so enjoy The Handmaid's Tale, and this has been pretty good so far. I think I'm about halfway through it at this point. I would like to finish it up this week. I just have to make myself do it. Not because it isn't good, it's just there's a lot of other distracting things, and there's TV and yeah, but so far, this is pretty great. I'm enjoying this a whole lot. This kind of follows the story of three women instead of just one, which is how The Handmaid's Tale was set up. But this follows the story of three women this time, or three female protagonists. And they're all basically in different parts of this world. One is a leader in Gilead, which is the place where you don't want to be if you're a woman because you have no rights. One follows a teen girl in Canada, and then the other one is another character in Gilead, but it's a younger girl, and it's around the time that she's reaching puberty and things like that, and she's kind of finding her place in this world of Gilead, and I think kind of questioning how much she agrees with the world that she's been raised in. It's really good so far. Would I recommend it? I'm still just halfway through, as I said, but would I recommend this? Yes, absolutely. I really enjoy it. So hopefully I can finish that this month. And then now let's get into my big stack of mostly spooky and thrillery books. Although I guess you could say The Testaments and Radium Girls are kind of spooky. They're not happy books by any means. They could definitely be considered thrillers in their own right. So I'm just going to get into some books that I got at the library today. The first one is Lessons from a Dead Girl by Joel Knowles. And a lot of these I picked up, I don't know that much about, other than this is about a girl that dies. It's about a girl that lives, but there's a girl that died, and the girl that lived isn't really sad that the girl that died is dead, because she was actually really mean to her in her life, and maybe there was even some abuse involved with that. I think she was a friend or maybe a frenemy type situation, and she hoped that she would die, and then she actually did die. And I guess it's just the girl that's left, the girl that was hoping she would die, is kind of dealing with her emotions about her death. I just thought it sounded pretty neat. Not any kind of story I have any experience with, but definitely, I don't know, the whole abuse factor, like abusive friendship relationship as a teen girl, intrigued me. The next one is Fever 1793 by Lori Halse Anderson. And I picked this up because this is familiar to me, or at least the cover, but I wasn't quite sure what it was about. But this is about basically a fever epidemic that happens during the summer of 1793. And this girl is like fleeing the fever. She's trying to get away from the danger of getting sick. And how basically there's just really no safe place to go. So I thought that sounded kind of suspenseful and a little scary. So I checked that out. Let's see. The next one is Salem Falls by Jodi Picoult. This was like a quick, like little shelf pull. I didn't give it much thought. I've read quite a few Jodi Picoults in the past, and I've enjoyed them. Her books are what I kind of classify in my mind as like mind candy. Like, they're really just easy to read. A lot of them are really enjoyable. You get into them. And yeah, you just really, I don't know. I really just enjoy them. I just enjoy them. I feel like when my mind needs a break from certain books, I reach for Jodi Picoult, because when you're in it, and then you can set it aside. And not all of her books, I don't know how to describe it. They don't make my mind hurt sometimes like other books do. I don't know. That's not like a dig at Jodi Picoult, because I obviously enjoy them. Anyways, this book is Salem Falls, and I thought the whole premise of this sounded pretty interesting. It kind of sounds spooky, so I thought it would kind of go with like a Halloween, October theme. It just seems to be like about a guy that moves to this place called Salem Falls, and he gets mixed up with these girls somehow who are accusing him of something really terrible, and it kind of like follows the same sort of theme of what actually happened in Salem, Massachusetts, during the witch trials, except it's more modern day. And yeah, this whole like town gets wrapped up in this plot or whatever. I don't know exactly. It just sounded very Salem witch trial-y, except modern. So I'm going to give it a shot. Let's see. The last one I got from the library is The Ruins. And this was like the last book I picked up. I just grabbed it again, like the cover and everything. It looked spooky, how it's all cracked right here. But The Ruins is by Scott Smith. And I could have swore this was a movie, but I'm not sure. But this is about some American couples who go on a vacation to Mexico and end up, I guess, maybe they end up going to some ruins. Yeah, they just go to some ruins, and I guess like scary stuff happens. I looked this up really quick on Goodreads before I put it in my library bag. And this is a thriller, but one of the reviews said this is not anything like they imagined it would be thriller-wise. But it's supposed to be pretty fast-paced and scary, but in an unexpected like way than you would usually expect a thriller to be scary. Now I can't remember exactly what the review said, but it just sounded intriguing. I wanted to give it a shot. It's in big print, which, for some reason that attracted me to it, because that big print just is easier to read. I don't know. I think it's easier for anybody to read, like big print. Makes you feel like you're getting a lot of stuff accomplished when you turn the page much more quickly than you usually would when it's regular print. So I'm just going to try that one. Let's see if I can get to that. It's not on the top of my TBR. I definitely have other books I want to get to first, but I definitely want to give that a try based off a couple of the reviews that I read. Just sounded very different and unexpected and scary in a completely different way that I don't even know what yet. So now let me get into the books that I did specifically buy for my October spooky thrillery TBR. Those library books are definitely still in that category. Definitely darker type novels and stuff is the whole theme that I was going for. for this month. All right, so the first book that I bought for the month of October is Intercepts, a horror novel by TJ Payne. And this one sounds pretty like messed up. It's about like, it's like more, I think, of a psychological type thriller. It's about this scientist who does these mind experiments on these inmates in like an institution. But what ends up happening is his own daughter gets intercepted, or like her brain is possibly being taken over by the experimentation that they're doing. So his own daughter at home starts having like a mental breakdown. Possibly her brain has been intercepted by the very people that he is experimenting on, because I guess when you get intercepted, the whole point is to turn your brain to mush. But then if the procedure is done properly, these shells of people who basically their brains have been turned to mush, these shells of people develop a strange new ability. They are able to intercept the sights and senses of anyone in the world. So basically they're trying to turn these people into weapons, basically. But the weapon itself has possibly been unleashed and is attacking the scientist's daughter. So yeah, and then she kind of has like this mental breakdown. And so I guess the whole thing is like, has her mind been intercepted? So I thought this just sounded really creepy and cool. I was just doing a search one evening on Goodreads, just trying to build a TBR of spooky, scary stuff. And that came up and it looked really good. So I got that one. The next one that I bought was Blanky by Keelan Patrick Burke. And this is such a short book. I had no idea it was going to be so short. It is only like 74 pages long. It's not even 100 pages. This is like a short story basically written as a book. But yeah, I thought this sounded really creepy and like insidious, because this is about a guy whose infant daughter has died. But they end up, so she's died, you know, they've gone through this tragedy, and then they start hearing crying coming from the nursery. And the only thing that's in there, I guess, that could possibly be the cause of this crying is a blanket. So yeah, the only thing left in this room is the blanket itself. I guess they stripped the room down. They disassembled the nursery. This guy and his wife, who he's now estranged from, have disassembled her nursery, and the only thing left is this blankie that they bought. And that sounds like it could be the cause of the trouble and the crying in the empty nursery. This sounded so horrible to me when I was reading it that immediately I was like, okay, yes, let's get it then, because it sounds terrible and like it'll make me really sad, and I'm just a glutton for punishment sometimes when it comes to that, because I like to mentally torture myself. So that sounds like a quick, really spooky read. The next book that I bought was Mine Hunter by John Douglas and Mark Olshaker. And this is inside the FBI's Elite Serial Crime Unit. And as someone mentioned on one of my last videos, they recommended that I watch the show. I did realize it was the show, but my husband actually watched it, and I sat in the same room a lot, but I didn't really pay attention to it because I was reading books that I felt like I need to get done instead. So now I'm going to have to go back and watch it, because now I've heard like it's really good. And then also I've bought the book, but this is more of a, let's see, this is like isn't it a nonfiction, right? I think, maybe not. Well, it says inside the FBI's Elite Serial Crime Unit. I'm pretty sure this is nonfiction, yeah. But this is kind of like the start, this kind of goes behind the start of the FBI Serial Crime Unit. Whenever they first start, I guess, researching and going after serial killers, like the whole formation of a certain unit of the FBI. And I thought that was really interesting. I've been listening to a lot of crime podcasts lately. I mean, I've always sort of liked crime shows and crime podcasts, but I've been really into it lately. And so I thought this would be fun for me to read, just to learn a bit more. Read the reviews on it online, and it sounded really good. So I'm going to give this a try, and I'll let you guys know how this was. So let's see. That's that. Okay. So the last book that I have to show you is My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. And this is a thriller book. I think this might have been the last one that I ordered out of the group. And it was just kind of like, read it, click, buy. I'm going to give it a try. But this is about a husband and wife who I think are serial killers. Or at least one of them is. And the other one sort of supports that killing. Let's see. Oh, so it sounds like the wife is the serial killer, and then the husband has found out about it at some point, and instead of like divorcing her and calling the cops, he's kind of like going along with it to preserve their marriage because I guess he's still so in love with her. I don't know, I just thought this sounded really interesting. It had really good reviews, so I'm going to give this a try. So that kind of rounds out my thriller, spooky, like really just dark October TBR. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 books on my October TBR. I'm not going to be able to read them all. There's just no way. I know myself. I mean, I know I could possibly if I worked really hard at it, but there's definitely, I'm not going to be able to read them all. But those are the ones I'm going to have to choose from and hopefully get into and hopefully read at least half of those. What is on your October TBR? I really want to know what you're reading, especially if you're reading any spooky, thriller, horror novels, maybe even some nonfiction. Leave those suggestions down in the comments below because I'm all about getting like scared and spooked and creeped out. I love getting creeped out by a book. It doesn't even have to be full of like gore or crazy stuff. Just that really creeping, shivery feeling that a book gives you sometimes. I love that. So if you have a book that you've read that gives you that feeling, please leave that suggestion below and maybe I'll add it to my TBR and even take one of these out. Because I really want that feeling this month. I want it. I need it. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books, what you think. Maybe give your suggestions about which ones I should pick up first. If you have read one of these, which one did you find really great? Let me know in the comments below. And thank you guys so much for watching. And I'll see you all again soon.